Palestine, Israeli occupation forces carried out a massacre in the Shifa hospital, Gaza's biggest hospital. In Russia, Vladimir Putin is set for a landslide re-election with over 99.7% of the votes counted in Sunday's presidential race. Electoral authorities reported a historic turnout of 74.22%. And in New Zealand, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in the nation's capital on an official visit. The Chinese top diplomat said Beijing seeks to strengthen strategic communication with friendly nations. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the genocidal Israeli army committed a new massacre in the Shifa hospital, the biggest in Gaza. Health authorities urgently appealed to the international organizations to stop this new war crime. The Palestinian Ministry of Health denounces that patients, civilians and health personnel have been killed and wounded. The genocidal troops also started a fire and are shooting at those who approach the windows in search for fresh air. Displaced women and children were in the affected area. Civilians and several patients are trapped inside the surgery building 8, and in the emergency reception they also confirmed at least 80 health workers arrested, accused of belonging to Hamas. The Palestinian Resistance Forces, Hamas, separately urged the International Committee of the Red Cross and the World Health Organization to fulfill their responsibilities and protect the remaining medical facilities in Gaza. In Palestine, the ongoing Israeli siege on Gaza keeps on taking civilians' life, now in the middle of the holy month of Ramadan, a time where Palestinians should be dedicated to prayers and celebration, but instead are suffering in chaos. Our correspondent Nur Harasin with the latest updates.
In a new Israeli attack on hospitals in the coastal enclave, overnight Israeli forces stormed and invaded the Shifa hospital, which is filled with displaced people, under the claims of a group senior Hamas leaders that are being inside the hospital. This scenario has happened before. The Israeli forces has previously reported the presence of Hamas leaders and Israeli hostages inside the Shifa hospital. They stormed into the hospital. No one was found, and apparently it is happening again. We journalists have lost all connections with people inside the Shifa hospital, including journalists. The last message that we got was a few hours ago. Some calls and videos from journalists from inside the Shifa hospital talking about intensive fighting around the Shifa hospital and how then the Israeli forces stormed into the hospital, started shooting at people inside the hospital, hitting the buildings of the hospital with several shells. The doctors who talked and the journalists who talked from inside the hospital a few hours ago said that there is tens of people who got killed. However, they are not able to reach them or to rescue them because of the presence of the Israeli forces. Now, the Shifa hospital is a closed Israeli military base. At the same time, the Israeli warplanes carried a series of strikes in the city of Deir al-Balah, the Nusayrat refugee camp, and also here in Rafah, while continuing the intensive shelling in Gaza. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, the number of Palestinians who were killed in Gaza since the 7th of October is now close to 32,000 people. And this is happening while Palestinians are supposed to be enjoying the holy month of Ramadan. However, this is one very bloody and different and horrific month of Ramadan on the Palestinians. Nur Harasin, teleSUR, Gaza.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Sunday that Israeli troops will continue the planned ground offensive in Rafah in southern Gaza, which has raised fears of mass civilian casualties. His remarks came as talks were expected to resume in Doha on a truce in Gaza, where Israel has been waging a campaign against Hamas Palestinian resistance for more than 5 months. Israeli cabinet members were scheduled to discuss the negotiating team's mandate late Sunday, Netanyahu's office said. The Prime Minister was also scheduled to meet with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who was expected to reiterate his warning against a ground offensive in Rafah. Most of Gaza's 2.4 million residents have taken refuge from relentless Israeli bombardment in the southern city near the coastal territories border with Egypt. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu criticizes the government of Joe Biden for promoting the idea of calling new elections in the Hebrew nation. Netanyahu pointed out that the international community seeks to stop the war before Israel achieves its objective in occupied Palestine by holding elections in his country. This after the leader of the Democrat majority in the U.S. Senate, Chuck Schumer, affirmed that Netanyahu lost the course of the country. He believed that the Israelis would choose better leaders if they had the opportunity. In this sense, the Israeli Prime Minister condemned this action and at the same time sentenced that no international pressure will prevent his objective of genocide in Palestine.
They are doing this because they know that an elections now will stop the war and will silence the country for at least 6 months. So let me be clear. If we stop the war now, before we achieve all our goals, it will mean that Israel lost the war, and we will not allow it. So we must not give in to these pressures, and we will not surrender. On the contrary, this simple truth will only lead us to strengthen our determination, to overcome the pressures, and continue to struggle until the end, until we achieve absolute victory. The international pressure will not stop us until we achieve all the goals of the war. Eliminate Hamas. We will do it, and in Rafah as well.
Israel and Hamas prepare to launch new attempts to reach agreements on Sunday in Doha. The whole world demands an urgent ceasefire. Before leaving, only 5 members of the Security Cabinet met in Tel Aviv. National media speculate that the Hamas proposal was on the table. The Doha meeting also had as an input the document of the Palestinian resistance. It contemplates the handing over of hostages in exchange for 100 Palestinian hostages, some of them sentenced to life imprisonment, as well as a ceasefire in 3 phases. The Israeli delegation, led by the head of Mossad, David Barnea, starts with a pessimistic outlook because they consider Hamas' proposal unrealistic. Large demonstrations took place worldwide for a ceasefire in Gaza and the right of the Palestinian people to freedom, while the genocidal Israeli army killed 92 people, most of them women and children, over the weekend. In addition to the deadly toll, Palestinian authorities registered 130 wounded over the weekend. Israeli fighter planes bombed Khan Yunis and Rafah overnight, almost simultaneously. Occupation forces blew up a house in West Gaza and another in Deir al-Balah. This latest onslaught brought the death toll to over 31,645 and the number of wounded to more than 73,600, according to official figures endorsed by the World Health Organization. In Syria, the government condemned in the strongest terms the hostile and destructive stance of the United States, the United Kingdom, France and Germany against Damascus. The 4 Western countries, in addition to ratifying that they will not normalize relations with Syria, warned those who are preparing to do so that they could face sanctions and other kinds of illegal punishments. The Syrian government reminded them of the historical plundering that they have maintained against the people and their wealth, and that even the United States maintains with the plundering of large quantities of oil and cereals with the support of terrorist forces. Damascus described the Western reaction as an obsolete colonialism that seeks to prolong the crisis in Syria. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Those stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. The vote count of the Russian president election reaches 99.7% and confirms the candidate for re-election, Vladimir Putin, leads with 87.31% of the votes. In this way, with a historic turnout of 74.22%, President Putin is said to be re-elected for a fifth term. According to the Central Electoral Commission, the second most voted candidate was Nikolai Kharitonov of the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, followed by the New People's Party of Vladislav Dankov. Meanwhile, in fourth place was the party of ultranationalists led by Leonid Stutsky. After learning about the electoral body's reports, the Russian president thanked his people for their trust and renewed his commitment to make Russia a strong state. In this context, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, spoke to the press after the first results of the counting of the votes cast in the presidential elections were presented, which shows a wide victory for the president. In his first public speech after the publication of the preliminary results of the vote, the Russian leader thanked citizens for their trust and support. The leader added that he would do everything in his power to solve the tasks set for the country and to achieve the goals he considers to be priorities. Furthermore, the president said that the elections demonstrated the cohesion of the multinational people of Russia and that the result obtained shows the unified will of the people.
I would like first of all to thank the citizens of Russia. We are all one team of all Russian citizens who went to the polling station and voted. And of course, today, in the condition in which we live, a special word of thanks to our soldiers, to the guys who, on the battle line, provide the country with the conditions for its development and assistance.
In this sense, Russian President Vladimir Putin says law enforcement will take action against people who spoiled their ballots in the presidential election.
What kind of democracy is this? People came and expressed their will. Another person came and spoiled their ballot papers. Is that democracy? That's the kind of people we have to deal with. This is a criminal offense, and our law enforcement agencies and institutions will act in accordance with the law.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, commented on Vladimir Putin's victory in the Russian presidential elections and has said that the triumph of the Russian leader is a good omen for the world.
With over 87%, Putin has completely won the war against the entire collective empire of the West, in a demonstration of the values of the Russian people, which is marking the long road with the victory of President Vladimir Putin, is marking a long road of vindication of the new Russia, of the great Russia for the multipolar world, a world of balance. So our big brother Vladimir Putin has won. These are good omens for the world for this year 2024. Congratulations, you are winning in all the battlefronts, Putin and Russia.
Haiti's national police said on Saturday that several members of the gang alliance commanded by Jimmy Cherchier, known as Barbecue, were killed in a shootout with police officers. The clash allegedly occurred in Port-au-Prince, the capital of the country. According to national media, the operation started in Lower Delmas and was aimed at capturing Cherchier. The gangs commanded by Barbecue already have control of 80% of the capital's territory. However, police commanders affirmed that this operation has been a hard blow because, in addition to the gang members neutralized, weapons and ammunition were confiscated. While violence grows on the streets, the formation of the Government Transition Council is still a draft. On Saturday, Guatemalan government confirmed that its honorary consulate in Haiti was ransacked. The foreign ministry reported that in the midst of the incidents that took place on Friday, no injuries were reported among any of the workers nor damage to the headquarters. The office assured that there was also no loss of documents or official paperwork stored in the building for the last 5 years since it was previously transferred to a safe place. In view of the incidents, the Guatemalan embassy in the Dominican Republic will temporarily take over the duties of the Port-au-Prince headquarters. And Venezuelans celebrate the 200th anniversary of the liberator Simón Bolívar's declaration as a Mexican citizen in recognition of his heroic struggle for emancipation and Latin American unity. A memorial and wreath-laying ceremony in honor of the liberator was held at Plaza Bolívar in Caracas, the capital of the country. The event was attended by Venezuelan and Mexican authorities who highlighted the path of unity traced by Simón Bolívar. In his speech during the ceremony, Ivan Hill, Venezuelan foreign minister, stated that Venezuela and Mexico have had the same struggle and the same successful destiny to consolidate their independence and Latin American unity, together with the bravery shown by their mothers. We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Concern news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Monday, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in New Zealand. This is the first visit of a Chinese top diplomat in 7 years. This is Yi's first stop. After finishing his work agenda in Wellington, he will travel to Australia. New Zealand's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters, held a meeting with his Chinese counterpart. According to the agenda published by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they discussed all aspects of bilateral relations, which this year marks the first decade. Foreign Minister Wang affirmed that China wishes to strengthen strategic communication with friendly nations. The government of South Sudan suspended academic activities as precautionary measure after 15 children died due to high temperatures. The Minister of Health announced the closure of all schools until further notice due to high temperatures that have reached 45 degrees Celsius in some regions. The health entity urged all families to take measures to avoid heat stroke, to keep their children at home, and to avoid direct exposure to the sun. South Sudan is one of the countries most affected by climate change as it suffers from high temperatures during the dry season and heavy flooding during the winter. Niger's ruling National Homeland Defense Council Board has broken the military accords with the United States, and U.S. troops will have to leave the country. The decision took place after a U.S. delegation headed by the Undersecretary of State for African Affairs, Molly Fee, visited the country. Although Washington remains silent, the Nigerian government spokesman Amadou Abdurrahmane explained that the guest violated diplomatic protocol by not informing who was part of the mission, which, in addition to Molly Fee, included the head of the United States Command in Africa, Michael Langley. The decision is effective immediately.
The government of Niger, acting on behalf of the aspiration and interests of its people, has decided on the pertinence of denouncing, effective immediately, the agreement relating to the status of American military personnel and civilian employees of the United States Department of Defense in the territory of the Republic of Niger. To this effect, a formal diplomatic letter will be addressed to the American party.
In Ireland, St. Patrick's Day celebrations took place in towns and cities across the country on Sunday, with an estimated 500,000 people gathering in Dublin to watch the parade. The religious holiday commemorates the death of St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. It's a day of celebrating Irish culture through parades, music, dances, and a lot of green, the color commonly associated with the saint. Crowds of people from home and abroad wearing shamrock-shaped sunglasses, Irish jerseys, and hats were wowed by a selection of colorful floats and musical performance in what has been billed as the biggest ever national parade.
As a dub myself, I have loved it so far. So,
it means having a good time, getting back my heritage as technically Irish back in the day. Absolutely love it here, so much fun.
There's the obvious, the green and everything, but there's the history around, around Ireland and how Ireland's involved in its independence, and so trying to find those roots and understanding how St. Patrick was involved in that's pretty important to the family. So I thought we thought we'd take the time and go out and try and learn a bit about it.
In Cuba, the third edition of the International Cultural Day, My Roots, in honor of the Queen of Cuban country music, Selena Gonzalez, began. The event, promoted by the artist Maria Victoria Rodriguez in honor of Selena, started on Saturday and will last 4 days. For the second consecutive year, it is held in the western province of Mayabeque and has international guests from Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Panama, which is the guest of honor. The considered queen of country music and of the Cuban punto llano, singer and composer who was born in 1928 near the valley of Yumurí in the municipality of Jovellanos in the western province of Matanzas. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.